Welcome back to the Rita Panahi Show. We've seen Labor continue to push the false claim that the coalition will force pensioners to use a cashless welfare card. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has slammed this move as a despicable lie, which is frightening pensioners. And Chief Executive of the Council of the Ageing, Ian Yates, has also condemned the scare campaign, saying that there's no factual basis at all for what the Labor Party is saying. Well, joining me now to discuss this is CEO of the Council of the Ageing, Ian Yates. Ian, we saw the success of the Mediscare campaign. It didn't get Labor over the line, but it cut through and terrified many in the electorate. Are we seeing Mediscare 2.0 with this cashless welfare card claim at the moment?
Well, hopefully not, although we remain concerned that people who are vulnerable and dependent on the pension would be scared by this or just completely disoriented about it. There's a lot of people in the community. The government's own retirement income review found that there's a lot of people in the community who actually think the pension might disappear at any time. So when you get something that feels threatening about the pension, people, not everybody, some people get quite angry about these kind of measures, but other people get very scared. I just think we don't want to scare vulnerable older people with something that's not going to happen, never was going to happen, and will not happen.
Absolutely. We're causing these people just unnecessary stress. Now, we've seen this week Labor leader Anthony Albanese and Christina Keneally double down on this lie. Let's hear from Christina Keneally.
Anne Ruston said to a parliamentary inquiry, and I quote, she was open to a conversation with the nation about the further use of the cashless debit card as a welfare measure. These are Anne Ruston because the government thinks that the age pension is welfare. Understand this. So don't come in here and try to say that the government have got clean hands on this. Anne Ruston is on the record.
But in today, Labor's spokesman for Health and Ageing, Mark Butler, has confirmed there were no quotes of the Prime Minister or the Social Services Minister calling for this scheme to include pensioners. You've got something in writing from Anne Ruston that says the Morrison government will never require age pensioners to use a cashless debit card.
That's correct. When this became a bit of a political football, April, May last year, we talked to Minister Ruston and her office and to double check what we understood, which was that this was not a plan of government. And when we met with her, she assured us that not only was it not her policy, it certainly wasn't the government's policy, and that the Prime Minister had made it clear to her when she was appointed it was never be the government's policy. When this then started to get some legs in electorates who were sending out emails and pamphlets and so on, I asked Minister Ruston if she'd be happy to put that in writing. And she did it, I think, on the 8th of July last year. And she put that in writing, and it says, it has never been, it will not be ever the policy of this government to extend the cashless welfare card, a welfare measure, to pensions. That's in black and white. It's a relatively short letter, makes it clear that that's the government's position, and delivers a quote that she gave in Parliament that said the same thing. We have published that letter in our own magazine with an article. We've published it on our website. We've referred to it in media releases and widely used it. And in late July last year, I wrote to the Shadow Minister and to the Leader's Office of the ALP saying, if you're going to continue to do this, we will have to disagree with you because we have this clear, unequivocal statement from the government that it's not going to happen.
Now, do you think this scare campaign is going to change votes? Are most pensioners savvy enough to work out what the likes of Albo and Christina Keneally are up to? Or are there enough people genuinely scared and this could determine their vote?
Look, I think there are people who are scared and worried, but I'll leave the political analysis to someone else. What I would say is that whether it's Labor on this or whether it's the government on death taxes, neither of which are policies that their opposite numbers hold, I would prefer that politicians spent some time in this election talking about real issues that are deeply concerning older Australians. Issues like the lack of a proper dental health program for older people in this country, the lack of mental health services for older people in this country, the future of the age pension in a time when the dividing line between work and retirement has become much more blurred. How we're going to deal with pensioners in the private rental market, how we're going to deal with the housing needs of an ageing population. These are all real substantive issues that we've presented to government and to opposition, and we would really like to see them talk about those things rather than trying to scare the voters to come to them rather than to the other side about things that are not going to happen.
Well said, Ian Yates. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.